Joined on the podcast now by Stephen Shultz of Marketing Caffeine as we talk about getting your business noticed on search engines, specifically Google, SEO, and everything you need to know here in 2026. Stephen, thanks for taking time this afternoon to talk to us.
I appreciate you having me, Doug. Appreciate you reaching out.
So I'm looking down the list of things we've talked about this year on the podcast, and I realized we haven't talked about marketing yet, and it's almost May, and we needed to attack that from a different angle. So I wanted to get in on just talking about how to make sure you're getting noticed on the internet, the things businesses need to be aware of. So let's start with the problem. If you are not coming up near the top of a search results for your business, or if someone searched for your particular industry or business type in Findlay, what could be amiss for that business?
Well, so one of my favorite jokes I've heard, at least it's funny to an SEO guy, is where's the best place to hide a dead body? On the second page of Google. So, well, one thing that's amiss on that is I just had this issue actually is where your site might be hosted. A lot of these web designers would agree with me is some of those bigger name ones might actually be kind of blocking your site popping up, or they're triggering. Google just automatically kind of has a scammy website filter and it'll stop the site from popping up. Another real simple explanation is some people don't even claim their business on their Google business profile, which is like your Google Maps listing. So when you search restaurants near me and, you get 10 options that pop up, that's your Google Maps, your Google business profile. And I know when I first started, it was something like 50% of small businesses didn't have their Google Maps listing claimed. And honestly, that's a lot of times, especially with AI, that's like the first impression of your business on Google nowadays.
We're going to dig into all of that because you brought up three very interesting points, but I want to go back to the where your site is hosted. Certainly there are the larger platforms that are out there, but are there any specific ones, without getting yourself into trouble with anybody, are there any specific ones to watch out for? Because I think a lot of times, if you're just doing your website yourself, you're like, oh, this website gave me I've seen their commercial, so I'm going to put my website up there. Can that be an issue?
I've started kind of saying if you've seen their commercial, don't use them. GoDaddy is one you will see people consistently have problems with. GoDaddy, it's get charged a lot, but your site's down or not secure, things like that. Just so if you're going to avoid one, avoid GoDaddy. And there's a ton of them out there, and there's a ton of info of different people saying where their favorite is, but just boils down to at least don't go to GoDaddy.
I am so upset to hear that Danica Patrick lied to me in those commercials all those years ago.
I know, she seems so trustworthy.
So, and it's maybe not necessarily the service, but it's the security on the back end of that you need to have taken care of. It seems like maybe that's where the problem lies there.
Yeah, it can be sending signals to Google when people click on your link that, hey, this isn't a good site, so don't go here. And that image, it always has the bypass where I want to go anyways. And so sometimes I go to those sites because I know where I'm trying to go.
Right.
Like I know the business, so I know their site itself isn't bad. But if I was a random person that was looking for a concrete company and that flashed up, then I would be like, well, I'm not risking that. Why would I go there? And it just consistently costs you leads.
Definitely something you want to look into. The other thing you mentioned is AI, and I want to get into that. And we may go all over the place with this, but I don't think a lot of people realize how much your search rankings are impacting AI answers regarding your business now.
Yeah, and it's hard to not go all over with this answer because AI itself is all over. So, and that's kind of a thing is AI is majorly affecting your search ranking, but they're also coming out with all these tools that are like, hey, here's an AI tool that helps with your search ranking. So it's tough because the other side of that is, yes, AI is making a lot of these things that typically weren't available to small businesses or were available to small businesses, but at an outrageous price, more affordable, or sometimes even free. But AI is consistently changing as well. And so it's easier, but also more difficult in other aspects.
I definitely would be wary of any business that for free is going to offer to help with your search rankings or making sure you're optimized for AI, because in that case, then you're the product. And I would be really, really worried about where that data is going.
Yeah. And and the thing is it has helped. I know several small business owners that when I first meet them is when they're first starting,
Mhm.
and all of their money is dedicated to surviving or just now getting into their new building or something like that. And so they have those tools that allow them to, have a nice designed website that AI built for them and things like that. But once you get past that point of needing to account for every penny that you've got, then it is a good idea to start looking at someone who can handle it.
So maybe the jumping off point, but don't live there forever.
Yeah, and don't put all your eggs in that basket either.
So you also mentioned not claiming your Google page or your Google listing, which is huge. We've done some workshops on that here at the chamber.
Mm.
I think certainly when you first look at that, especially if you're just a startup or you're just getting started with your web presence, that can feel intimidating. But if you decide, well, I'll get back to it, and you never get back to it, you're really, really leaving money on the table.
Yeah, and the one thing I tell people as well is never avoid at least taking the things that are free. A Google Business Profile is free to any small business that's out there. I could create 10 for businesses that don't exist yet if I wanted to because it costs nothing to have it.
Mhm.
So always go in. Sometimes they're already created. If your business has been around 10 years, Google can kind of figure out that your business exists. So they at least have marketing caffeine sit in there, even though I've never put the address in there or anything like that. I wasn't even the one that set it up, and it can start kind of collecting some of that data. So if you search your business and it's out there, you can go in and claim that. I've done that for a couple people. Is I just say I own this, and it gives me access to it. So that's another good reason to make sure you claim it before someone decides they want to take it.
Right.
And then go through every single step that's in there, every single field that they have that's an option for you to fill out info. Fill out that info because that's way that it's not just Google listings that find you, but it's when people are searching for phone numbers, that AI overview in different search engines. Chat GPT is like, here's the phone number of a local bakery in Findlay and things like that. So fill out every single detail that you can, and then it provides way more points of contact and points of info for you to be found online.
Obviously, you want to do the Google one. It's funny because we just said be wary of the free services, and Google's going to do this for you for free. But it's Google. You just kind of have to.
Yeah.
So, regardless of your feelings on that. But is it worth doing the same situation for Bing as well, or does Bing have an equivalent of it? Because again, it's another place where AI might be able to find you.
Yeah, anywhere your listing can be set up. So that's actually a big point of the SEO world. There's a couple hundred different places across the internet that your business can be listed. The obvious one is Google and Google Maps, but then there's Apple Maps is a big one.
Oh yeah.
There Yelp is still big, believe it or not. That actually matters for a lot of businesses. But there's hundreds more of that most of them I couldn't name them all off to you. I've got the whole list sitting there, but I couldn't name them. But the reason they're super important is they actually feed different things. Even though no one's ever visited this site, that info feeds another site, and that actually kind of weaves this web that's super important to your search ranking. So anywhere you can set that up, absolutely do it. But the important ones would be Google and Google Business Profile. Apple Maps is also really important nowadays as well.
So you mentioned search engine optimization or SEO, and that's a place I wanted to dive into a little bit here today as well. You've been working in SEO for a little while now, and
Mhm.
let's just first set the table for. I think most people are familiar with SEO, but if you're not, let's just talk a little bit about what that is.
Yeah. So like if to give a basic definition of what it is there's something called organic traffic and paid traffic. Organic traffic is if I searched for Chamber of Commerce near me and the Hancock County Chamber of Commerce popped up and I clicked on the website and visited it, that is organic traffic because
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was looking for. It organically popped up and I went in there. If I searched for Chamber of Commerce Findlay and the Findlay Hancock County Chamber of Commerce was running an ad and I clicked on it, that's your paid traffic, right? So that's the
Right.
difference. So your search engine optimization is working on your website and your digital presence, reworking that so you are appearing at the top of those search results organically without having to run any ads, and people are clicking on that and visiting your site, getting that organic traffic.
All right. So that's it in a nutshell. In your time in doing this, how much has it changed? Because it seems I can remember the early days of SEO, and I know probably a lot of the principles still apply, but at the same time, it feels like this whole field has shifted to not just SEO, but AI optimization and everything in between.
Yeah, and I mean, it's totally different from how it's changed. I think back to 2 years before I started marketing caffeine, and I was in college. And then when marketing caffeine started, it had changed in just that 2 years. But it's really, when I first started, you used to be able to type a paragraph that said, "I'm looking for a concrete contractor near me. If this is your search, then I might be the concrete contractor near you that you're searching for when you search for a concrete contractor." Like, you could just jam keywords in there. Keyword stuffing is what they called it. And nowadays, if you had tried that, you could be the best concrete guy in Findlay, and your website would just plummet, because now Google uses AI to review your sites. That's where those AI overviews come from.
Mhm.
And what Google AI is looking for now is they're looking for answers to questions. They're looking for real content. They're not just looking for someone that says the exact search term 1,000 times. And people aren't searching for concrete contractors near me anymore. They're searching for, what should I expect to pay for concrete in Findlay, Ohio? Things like that. So
That's
that's the big change.
it's interesting. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. I don't want to do that, but that almost seems like a change for the better, because the keyword stuffing, one, would be annoying to do on your end, but two, almost feels like a way to cheat the system. Is if you can find, hey, I've got the best cheesecake in Findlay, so if you want cheesecake in Findlay, you should come see me for the best cheesecake in Findlay, because we like cheesecake here in Findlay.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
seems like gaming the system.
It absolutely is. It's a change for the better, for sure. Because you think back, how it used to be is, I could have one of my competitors could go on to their website, have a white background, and have a white box of text that just said "marking caffeine" 1,000 times. No one would see that it's there, except the algorithm would see it's there, and so that would pull it up. So that was kind of a scammy way to do things. But now, how the shift has changed is it values authority on a topic. And so the biggest thing on that is, like I said, answering questions on your website, providing valuable information, and also things like Google reviews and
Mhm.
people backlinking to your website, things like that. That proves your authority on a subject.
Do things like header tags and everything like that you have to fill out still matter as much as they used to as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The header layout and the schema markup on your website is still extremely important, because it's still how the computers read your website. You have no idea, looking on my website, which one's the H1 tag, which one's the
Mhm.
H2, and things like that. And 99.9% of people don't use the alt text on images and things like that. But those pillars still stand true as important foundations of SEO.
So there are fundamentals that people should still be following. Now, if those terms that we just used made your head spin, that's probably where you want somebody to be looking after that for you for SEO. I can't imagine, if you're doing a business that isn't focused on this, that you want to be spending a whole lot of time in your website dealing and learning what the schema is and what header tags are and what you need to put in there. That is why there is an industry for SEO. And that's when
Yeah.
people need to talk to someone like you, Stephen.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. When we first, me and Eric Leskowitz, who I think you've met before as well. When we first started marketing caffeine together a couple years ago, originally was, we're going to do digital marketing education. So I'm going to go into a business. I'm going to teach them how to run their Google ads, how to optimize their website, and things like that. And when we were kind of getting things set, figuring out what exactly we should do, we talked to several business owners. Then they're like, "I don't want to learn it. I want someone else to handle it for me." So we're like, "All right, we're never mind then."
So it's one thing to I get it. I don't like I'm interested in all this, and I don't want to learn all of that. So I
Mhm.
imagine running a business, you don't want to learn all that. It's good to have someone running it for you. But if you're just getting set up, what are maybe you don't need to worry about the headers and all of that type of stuff, because that's getting into the back end of your website and getting lost in the weeds. But I imagine it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. It's taking care of those fundamentals of your Google page, making sure that you have that taken care of, making sure you're hosted on the right site, and making sure that you're kind of ready for AI to crawl over your website and find what it wants.
Yeah, just take care of the basics, like the things you mentioned, all that we've talked about this whole time, Google Business Profile, things like that. Get your Google Analytics set up. That's free as well, and that's also provides extremely important info. And then if you're building your own site, a lot of small business owners, when they first start, they build their site. My advice is always build it with mobile in mind as well, because
Mhm.
there's a 99% chance that your most of any business's traffic is going to be on a mobile version. From a huge giant business all the way to the smallest business, most of their traffic typically comes from mobile mobile users. And there's outliers to that, but that's typically so. As you're sitting there fiddling around on Squarespace or Wix or whatever you decide to build your website on, as a someone who doesn't have the web design skills, those are good platforms to start on. We usually move them away from that. But anyways, build it with mobile first and make it easier for people scrolling on your site.
What would you say to people who are like, I don't need my own website. I've got my Facebook page. I update it once a month. And usually it's a picture of something that's not relevant to what they do. Because I've run into a surprising amount of that. And it always makes me worry for that business. But what would you tell them?
Yeah, it's the first thing is you want somewhere to send people that you can display all of your information all at once. If I tried talking about everything my company does on a couple social media posts all the time, then
Mhm.
that's going to be super painful. That post is going to be ugly and no one's going to want to look at it. So your website at least gives you a place to house your information so people can get their questions answered as well. And then also provides a landing spot for your potential leads to be going to and putting their information on a contact form or a call button. Social media is fantastic, but what social media needs to be is it needs to be kind of the shovel that scoops you up and then tosses you into the website is what it needs to do for you.
You ultimately want people going there. And I think one thing people think about is cost when it comes to hosting a website. And that's
Yeah.
actually pretty affordable, I think, for most businesses. And I would just cost it up to that's just the cost of being in business these days. You have to have a website, but you can do it pretty cheap.
Yeah. It also builds a little bit of credibility, I
Yeah.
think, as well to have your website. Have a simple, clean website is better than having no website from a credibility standpoint. Because if you're like, I want to hire this guy, he only has a Facebook and posts every couple of weeks. That's it. That's just nowadays that feels weird. That feels sketchy to most people. Even it's not even a generation thing anymore. It's most people would be like, that's weird that you're nowhere on the internet.
That's
And anyone I've interacted with, or most people, I won't say anyone, but a lot of people I've interacted with that just have a Facebook and post every once in a while, their services kind of match that, you know?
that's yeah, you're going to you want to look like a well-oiled machine, and you might be an operation of one, but you want to look like you have an army of 20 people behind you, and then you have this look at our marketing department and this website they put together. Yeah, it was just you put it up together, you worked with one
Yeah.
other person to put it together, but you need to feel bigger than you are a lot of times.
Yeah. Yep. It's absolutely sometimes it is just an image thing.
So, Stephen, if somebody wants to look over their web presence, maybe they want to have a conversation with you, what's the best way to get started on that?
Yeah. So absolutely visit my website, marketingcaffeine.com, or you can email me at steven@marketingcaffeine.com. A couple things we typically do for someone that we're just meeting for the first time is they can have an SEO audit of their site where we run it through and it actually shows them how their SEO is doing. Or if they just have some questions, I'm always happy to sit there and email back and forth, or they can call us from our website as well. That'd be awesome.
100% worth the conversation. Get that audit done because I think just, I don't know, rip that band-aid off and get your web presence up to speed. It's not going to get any less important. Always trying to explain to it now, Stephen, people, we are about 20 years into the internet as we currently know it. We've had the internet since I was 16, actually before
Yeah.
that, but I got the internet when I was 16. I'm going to be 46 in a couple of weeks. So we're talking about 30 years of having the internet. It's not going away. You got to be there.
Yeah, there's no use in denying it anymore. Honestly, you probably should have stopped denying it about 15 years ago.
Yeah. But now it's definitely time to stop. So, Stephen, thanks so much for taking part in this today.
Yeah, I thank you for having me, Doug. I appreciate it.